Hey everybody, this is Tim with Bird Appliance. Today we're looking at electric analog dryers. What that means is a dryer that has some kind of timer like this. You can do any type of dryer. It could be Whirlpool, GE, or whatever. This is the most common type that's out there. It's a Roper, it's made by Whirlpool. You'll see a lot of these. But the idea here is if you're gonna try to look at diagnosing your dryer, you wanna start from start to finish. So what we're gonna look at is the external things first, which is about 30% or so of the problems. Electrical and mechanical, and then we're gonna kind of go over the things that we do in the field to make sure that we're getting this stuff right. So what this video is gonna do is gonna make sure that we kind of go through basic diagnostics. If you don't know how to use a multimeter very well, this video is not gonna include much of that, even though we are using a multimeter. We're not gonna be showing you how to use a multimeter. There's a lot of videos on training how to do that. If you're not comfortable with electricity, most of this is going to be with ohms, so not live. But there are going to be a few live tests you need to do or try out. If you're not comfortable with that, don't do it. But be careful with electricity if you're not comfortable with it. The other is parts, things like that, showing how to pull parts out and all that. There's lots of videos on that. We will offer you more information in the description down below so that you understand how to find parts easily. But this is really to give you a framework. We want to give you a framework of how not to make mistakes or how to look at symptoms and problems so you can actually get this thing to work correctly and not have to keep repairing it. So a quick overview of the dryer. Basically, you need to have a little bit of an understanding of how they work or what the purpose of them is. Obviously, you know they dry clothes, so that's not important. But what they are is they're a huge heat duct. And what a duct needs, it needs to take air in, move it through all this duct system. When it heats the clothes up, that's going to get that hot air and moisture into the air quicker. That's what the heat is for. And then ultimately, it's going to take that moisture and kick it out the back. So we want to look at a lot of external things before we get into the electrical and the mechanical. A lot of the reason why is because the external things are what's causing problems in the dryer. It's what really reduces the lifespan of the dryer. But really what you want to think about is you've got this tumbling machine. There's lots of pieces to this big duct, and the duct needs to get that hot, wet air out. A lot of y'all are gonna have problems where you open the drawer and you find that the machine is hot and it's wet, okay? That means we've got issues getting that hot, moist air out of the machine. So we're gonna go through some of these external things. All right, the first thing you wanna do is look for a model number for your machine. In general, on the dryers, you're gonna find them on a sticker, something like this. You're looking for model. It's gonna be a series of letters and numbers. The reason you wanna do that first is you may not have this exact same dryer, but what you can do is go down to the description. We will show you how to find a parts diagram, at least so that you can determine a little bit more about the machine before you start opening it up. Okay, before you start doing anything with the machine, the very, very first thing you want to do is double check your external venting. And the way you do that, you don't move the machine first. What you wanna do is look at it, lean over the back, okay? If you have a camera and you need to look down there and take a picture because you can't see it, you're really trying to see the position of your external venting. So basically, you're venting like this. A lot of times what you're gonna find is the venting is twisted like this, which it should not be. Sometimes if you push it far against the wall, it will crunch into a Z shape like that. That is not good for it. A lot of these problems that come from the dryer, this is the main reason they're getting problems to begin with. The other issue is the length of the hose itself. Sometimes it's 6 to 8 feet long and it looks like a snake. All of that stuff makes your dryer break and not work as well. So don't move it, get a picture first, and then we're gonna show you how to clean that up. So in a perfect world, you're hoping to see your vent go right out behind it like this and be straight and clean, and then you have your wall fitting right here and it goes right out the back of the house. That's not always the case. So if you see it like this is what your goal is to look like this. You may have a vent that is slightly offset. What you want to do is make sure that that is set more like this. You don't want this crunched again and end up with the same problem like this or anything else, so you need to leave room. A lot of people that we find have problems, they're pushing the dryer too far back against the wall because they want to make room in the utility room. But you always have to make sure that you're making room to keep this straight. So if you have to come to the side, make it look like this. If you already have all this taken care of and you have a vent that goes vertical instead of out the back of your house, there may be an issue with the venting as well inside. And the way you would know that is your dryer's heating and running but your clothes are not getting dry at the end of the cycle. A lot of that is coming from this vent or the external vent that's inside your home. And those are the things to correct first. So when you're going to put this vent back on, what you want to do is make sure, again, you have the shortest vent. So make sure you cut somewhere. You'll need a pair of snips and some scissors. And you want to cut it as short as you can. If you're lucky, you may only have to have 6 to 8, 10 inches of hose, and it goes right here. The way that you do that, a lot of people say, well, how do you do that if how do you get back there to do that? Make sure you uninstall the washer first. That's real common. People want to put 6 feet of hose on here like this, and then they smush it back in and it gets all wrapped up because they don't know how to put the vent hose on. You will have to uninstall your washer in most cases. After we've got the venting taken care of, the next thing you're going to want to look for is supply issues, power supply issues, so your electrical. This can actually cause the machine not to start and not to heat, so we want to go through what's going on there. You're going to have 2 types of electrical. You're going to have either a 4-prong plug or a 3-prong plug. In this case, we have 4. And then this will require an electrical check because we do need to look for power supply. When you're first looking for electrical supply, it's a little difficult to look here at the outlet. And the reason why is that the female receptors from the plug on the outlet side, they're just hard to hit with the multimeter. So we have a little simpler method so you can be more accurate. It's going to require you taking the panel off of the dryer on the back. The first thing you want to do before you go into this section, just in case you have a loose wire, you just never know, is go ahead and get it unplugged. And then we just want to take the panel off. All right, now that we got the panel off, this actually is, I wasn't expecting to see this, but this is not wired quite right. What's going on here is that someone added a 4-prong, which is the newer style of cord, to this machine, and they left the ground, which is green, bonded with the neutral here. The only change you would make on this, and we can do this, we'll do this later, is you would take this ground off, remove the white wire here, and take it over to the neutral wire, which is the white in the middle. Now this isn't really necessary. The reason why this dryer worked before is because this actual setup here is what would happen if you didn't even have a ground wire on here. So if you had the old 3-prong wire, that's why they use this white wire to ground. The only difference they've made with the 4-prong wire is they've made a dedicated ground. So all you're doing is moving this away and putting it over here on the neutral. Everything else on here is wired correctly. So again, if your dryer was working before, this is not a major issue. It's just a slight upgrade, which is why they did the 4-prong. I don't want to get too deep into it. If you see something like this and you're confused, I'm sure there's plenty of videos that will show you exactly how to wire this correctly, and they'll be out there. But if we're looking at this, what we want to do is understand really quickly what the voltage is doing. You have 2 lines that are coming in, so 2 120 AC voltage lines that are coming in. The hots are the black and the red, and your neutral wire is the middle one, which is white. So the reason why we took the panel off with it unplugged is sometimes these get loose or whatever. You don't want to get zapped. I mean, you don't know why this machine's not starting. You don't know why it's not heating, and sometimes it's in this area. So what we're going to do is go ahead and plug it back in, and then we're going to show you what you should be seeing on the multimeter. So again, this machine is now plugged in. It's live. Be careful. But what you've got, again, you're looking for, this is all you need to know really to make sure that you have good electrical supply to the dryer. First, you want to go across the 2 hots. You should be getting around 240 volts. That is good. Anything lower than about 235, you probably got some issues, but generally most people are going to see around 240 or so, and that is good. Then you want to look between the red and the white. You should get about a 120, okay? And then you're going to do the same across on the white and black. 120. So there we have good supply. If you did find that you couldn't get those proper voltages on your terminals here, what you want to do, and this happens rarely, but you could have a problem in this electrical line here. All you need to do is double check for clean lines. So in this case, the red matches this piece. The hots, which are the black and the red, are always going to be on the outside. The white, which is in the middle, is here, and you're checking just to double check to make sure these lines are good. So there's 0 here. Yours may be wired the opposite, so it may be over here. Open just means that there is no, it's a broken circuit, which is fine, because we have the good circuit here. We're gonna go over here. There's our other one. Around 0 is good, a few points is fine. And then there's our neutral. So if you had any of those showing up open on your meter, there's some kind of break in here. All that being said, once you've done that, if you didn't have 120 or 240 here in the way we showed, and if this doesn't do it, you've got a problem in your electrical supply, you're gonna need an electrician, so that is gonna be what's going on. Or you can do the electrical work yourself, but that just identifies where the electrical is. You wanna make sure that it's not dealing with your machine. This is actually a supply problem. The next thing we wanna look at is the intake, the air intake on this machine. As we mentioned before, the vacuum on this system does require intake, and a lot of times this is overlooked. But you want to look on the back. This one doesn't look too bad. It's got some dust, but a lot of people will have caked lint or dust or debris in this area. You're not going to be able to pull fresh air and, through the system and create a good vacuum that lets all this air out the back if this is done. This is overlooked a lot, and this actually will cause problems inside the machine. So just make sure you clear all this off and get all this stuff cleaned off if it's there. The next step is just a quick look at the dryer drum here. What you're doing is just making sure it's running free and clear. The other thing you want to do is look in the back and kind of see the wiggle. You can probably see it wiggling now. Some of it's a little bit of an underperformance issue, some of it's not. We're going to get into that in the mechanical video. If it is wiggling and moving around a little too much, it's just something to pay attention to later, because if there is gaps in there, you're actually going to have problems with heat escaping and a poor vacuum, and that leads to problems with the dryer. So you're wondering why we waited so long to start it. If I don't do that first, people forget to do the external venting. So the external venting part is pretty important. Just want people to make sure they see that before they start it. But what you want to do after you've checked the drum, the external venting, making sure you have power. Most of you are going to be over here looking for why it doesn't start and why it doesn't heat. So let's go ahead and get it started. Put it on a heat setting and see what it does. All right, so this one starts. If it doesn't start, we're gonna run through electrical problems. If it doesn't heat, the reason why we're turning it on to see if it heats or not is a lot of times it does heat. You think it's not heating because your clothes aren't dry, but it's really an external venting problem. So let this run for about, 30 seconds to a minute. If you have a gas one, you may wanna wait a minute. And then all you're gonna do is open it up to look to see if you got heat inside. And we got heat. So if you didn't find heat or you didn't get the machine to start, that's what you're gonna use the electrical video for. Those are your two major loads inside the machine, so the things that need power to operate. The last one you wanna go over, because there's plenty of complaints about noise as well and wanting to figure out a noise, is to start with, do you have an external noise problem or not? Is it some kind of resonance? The easiest way to do that is go ahead and turn the machine on. And this one does have a little thump to it, so there's something going on a little bit. Usually they run pretty quiet. And then what you want to do on the external side before we dig into the mechanical stuff, I like to get on the corner of the machine, kind of plant your hip into it and twist it a little bit. And if you twist it and it changes noises, a lot of times that's either going to be something frame-wise that is a resonance problem. You can usually correct that. Let me turn this off. You can usually correct that by changing the feed or changing the location of the dryer. Sometimes it's that simple. But if you twist on it or move the frame around and you're still getting noises, those are gonna be external, and we're gonna cover that in the mechanical section. So if you made it this far, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is take that model number that you found on your dryer, which was again on the front of the thing. This again could be almost any analog style electric dryer. Go down into the description below and we're gonna show you how to get kind of an overview of the parts diagram. And the reason you want the parts diagram, you may not be structured exactly the same way. If it's not a Whirlpool type, it could be a GE type or some other type. You're gonna wanna see kind of where the parts are located so you're not tearing things out of the back or tearing things through the front. Again, this is kind of the most common dryer on the market right now, the Whirlpool products. So that's why we're using this one. But you do wanna go in there and take a look. On the next video, we're gonna take a bigger look into why the machine won't start, which is your motor circuit. We're why the machine will not heat, which is your electrical circuit, and we're gonna kind of dig through the general way of diagnosing electrical problems.